The killings of the two Soweto boys, Nqobizitha Zulu as well as Tiamo Rabanye, has sent shockwaves across the country. But it has also sparked fears of Muti killings because the two boys, when they were found, their bodies were mutilated and they were found in different places. Last week, Friday, the two people who are allegedly involved in the killing and mutilation of these boys appeared in court. What was more shocking about this particular story is that a family relative is allegedly involved. Joining us to talk about the story and to talk about these recent fears of Muti killings is Dr. Professor Johannes Masopa Mphelo, who is the chairperson of the African National Healers Association. Prof, welcome. Thank you so much for your time. Before we get into the killings of the two boys whose bodies were found in Soweto, I want us to talk about the work that you do as the African National Healers Association.
Oh, thank you very much. At African National Healers Association, I'm a chairperson in that organization. I'm responsible to register the new traditional healers. I'm responsible to make sure that no one of our members involve him or herself in such criminal activity of mutilating other people in the purpose of empowering their powers as traditional healers.
Prof, you're touching on something that's very important, but we'll work through it and touch on that a bit later on. When I go to the doctor, for an example, and I go into the doctor's rooms, the expectation is I'm going to find certificates on the wall that will give me their registration number. I will see their qualification. How important is it for even me as a patient going to a traditional healer to be able to verify if they are registered with an organization like yours?
Yeah, according to the South African Constitution, it forces us as traditional healers to identify us to our patients. The certificate should be on the walls, and when you come into my consultation, in my consulting room, I must show you my operating license. The law forces us to put it on our chest for you to easily identify us.
And if a traditional healer does not have that, what is my recourse as a patient?
Yeah, then you'll be risking with your life because some traditional healers are raping women when they come for consultation. Some traditional healers are mutilating people when they come for consultation. And it doesn't end there. When you go to a traditional healer, you should first do the investigations with that particular traditional healer, because now we are facing issue of people who are pretending to be traditional healers and they are possessing fake qualifications, fake operating licenses.
And let's now get into the issue of these two boys who were brutally murdered in Soweto, and how the story, of course, how the police described this particular killing is that the bodies of these kids were mutilated. There were certain body parts that were missing. The family also described how their faces looked, that there were certain organs that were missing from their faces. And this then led to even the police themselves, although there is an investigation that is ongoing to find out whether this is just a murder or a Muti killing. But there are those fears that this was possibly a Muti killing. What was your reaction when you first heard this story?
It was so sad, and I felt angry at the same time, as I'm in a law enforcement as well also. So it touched me in a negative way. I even called Mr. Matlaba, our CEO from ANA, which stands for African National Healers Association, and asked him that, did you see or did you hear about this brutal children mutilation which has occurred in Soweto? Then he was speechless. He was down. So it has affected us in a negative manner because it put the image of traditional healers in a bad manner. Yeah. You understand what I mean?
And the association, Prof, with healing and Muti killings? Because ngesizulu, when you say umuti, you associate it with a tree. A tree which is something that gives life. You associate it with, the literal meaning then would be umuti, which is medicine, which is something that is supposed to heal. So how do you say muti and you say killing in the same sentence?
Frankly speaking, they don't go hand in hand. In our traditional healthcare, we were trained to heal different illnesses with herbs, not with human body parts. It's a taboo in our tradition.
So what do we call these people then? If Prof, you're saying you can't use these two in the same light, meaning you can't say you are healing, but then you are also killing at the same time. But these are people that call themselves traditional healers. These are people that are called the Zangoma, they are called the Nyanga. What do we then call them? What do we then call this kind of practice?
To me, I call them as criminals that they need to face the justice. To me, I call them fake traditional healers. And those things, frankly speaking, they came with those people from West African countries. Then our brothers and sisters here in South Africa, they have adopted that style. That is not our style. Here in South Africa, as far as I know, we only utilize herbs, the trees.
But don't we have things like uktwala?
Those things, frankly speaking, they don't go hand in hand in a traditional healing and healthcare. We don't do that. If I want to have lucky, I know the herbs which I should mix and bath or do something with them to attract love, to attract lucky, to attract wealth or money. We don't use human body parts. Instead, we can use animals, wild animals. But we don't have to kill those things because they have got right to life. If I walk in the bush, maybe I come across a certain animal which is very much important for my practice as a traditional healer. That's when I can pick that one and go and obtain some of the bones or parts. You understand what I mean?
Prof, I think let's take a short ad break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. That is Prof. Dr. Johannes Masopa Mphelo, who is the Chairperson of the African National Healers Association. We're taking a short ad break. We'll continue our conversation when we come back. Welcome back. We continue our conversation with Professor Dr. Johannes Masopa Mphelo, who is the Chairperson of the African National Healers Association. We're talking about the recent killings of the two boys whose bodies were found mutilated in Soweto. That is Ngobizita Zulu as well as Tiamo Rabanye. Prof, let's continue our conversation. Do you think that Izangoma or these fake healers, as you were alluding to before the break, that is what you call them, have they created a market, a demand of sorts? And I'm asking you this because of a video of a man in the Eastern Cape, in Batawete, who was found in possession of male genitalia. And when he was questioned by the police, he said he was taking it around, showing people with the hope that he's going to find a sangoma who's going to want to buy it. So this is not someone who had a buyer, but he was going around looking for a buyer, which then begs the question of, is this a practice that is just, it's so public now that anybody can just go around showing people's private genitalia and saying, well, do you want it? Do you want to buy it? Is there a market that has been created?
There are some people from foreign countries. I'm saying this because we have arrested so many people. The higher number is those people from foreign countries. So I can say, yes, there's a market for that. That is why now people are killing other people in order to mutilate them and sell the private parts or whatever that is needed to those people.
So as a police officer then, Prof, when you are cross-questioning them, what is the biggest thing that comes up? Because now you're telling us that the highest number is that of foreign nationals. But what is the crux of the matter? Why are they doing this?
Because they believe that human body parts boost up their medicine, brings good luck. And like our brothers and sisters who are living with albinism,
Yeah.
they are the main targets. Frankly speaking, they believe that their blood or skin heals cancer, which is all a lie. We only use herbs. I will always say that.
Sure. Prof, that is very concerning. And then it brings us to the issues of legislation and issues of regulation. And I know that in previous years, traditional healers were really against being regulated. But do you not think that, like you're saying, that there is an increase in the number of fake sangomas, and there is an increase in people who are now trading in human body parts but posing as healers? Isn't it time that the sector is, and the practice of traditional healing is regulated?
Yeah, the issue is that the traditional health care sector, our government does not take it seriously. That is why people now, everyone who wants to be a Sangoma, he or she should just wake up in the morning and say, I'm a Sangoma, because they want money, they want to scam people, they want to sell human body parts, so on and so on. So in my National Healers Association, we are busy working on that. In other words, we want the government and the parliament to put more effort in the rules and regulations of the traditional healers to avoid things of this nature, like human mutilation and so on and so on.
Let's talk about, just before we close, Prof, I want to read one of the standards and codes of ethics code of ethics that you have, right? One of them that you've set out is that your members should commit that they shall not allow any person to induce them to indulge in practices which may lead to working or hurting any person, or practices which may be detrimental to any institution, organization, or the society at large and the image of one's profession. And you've listed many other standards that you're saying your members should adhere to. If you ever find one of your members not adhering to the code of ethics, what happens to them? And have you in the past had members that did not adhere to the code of ethics, and what did you do?
Yes, in the past we had those people, we blacklisted them. No any South African traditional healer association will ever accept them. The other ones committed offenses like human mutilation. We made sure that we assist the police to arrest them.
But how do you then make sure that that person does not come back into the system? Because I'm sure it's not all the traditional healers who have an organization or a body that they're registered under. So if I go to Orange Farm somewhere, how do I know that this person has been blacklisted or not?
Yeah, that is why I told you that before you consult a certain doctor, you must do your investigations first.
Is there a registration number that I can use? If I call you, for instance, I can use the registration number to say, I'm here at so-and-so's in Dumba, and I want to find out if they're registered or not, and here's the registration number that they're giving me.
Yes, each and every doctor has got his own practice number. It's a unique practice number which is allocated to everyone who's registered. So that is why those certificates, they should always be on the wall for you to see. And if you are not satisfied, you are allowed to call my association to inquire about who is Dr. Mphelo. They will tell you if I'm still active or being blacklisted. They will tell you everything about me, because we don't want anything to tarnish our name.
Absolutely. Yeah. Doctor, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we hope that people like you who have the association with the law and people who understand the regulations, who have associations and make sure that our traditional healers are indeed registered, that you will be able to intervene, and that we'll start seeing less and less of these kinds of crimes that are happening, because really this is what it is. It is a crime that was committed when those two children were killed killed in Soweto. That was Professor Dr. Johannes Masopa Mphelo, who is the chairperson of the African National Healers Association, joining us this morning here on the morning show to speak to us about his thoughts around the recent killings of the 2 boys in Soweto, which has really sparked fears of Muti killings. And like he said, this has nothing to do with traditional healing, but what it is a crime, and that is possibly committed by fake people who are calling themselves and posing as sangomas. But that's where we leave this conversation here on the morning show.